I think we can all agree that drones are pretty cool. I kind of marvel at drone technology because I feel like there's been no other piece of technology that has gone from brand new to being so ubiquitous. When I was in Iceland, we saw drones flying everywhere. I brought my drone because even the smartphone had been predated by the cell phone and the flip phone and the brick phones from the 1980s. We saw this progression of a portable telephone you could bring with you and how it evolved into the smartphone that is now so ubiquitous and every single person has one. But drones kind of dropped into the market and now all of a sudden they're kind of everywhere. But what I'm here to do is ask, is getting a drone a reasonable business investment for a filmmaker? And the answer to that is yes, no, maybe, I'm not sure, it depends. So I'm not really going to give you a proper answer. I just want to talk about drones. 10 years ago, if you wanted to get aerial shots of a location or talent or whatever the case may be, you had to rent a helicopter, hire a cinematographer. They had to go up with their cameras and lenses and shoot that. It would run tens of thousands of dollars for a single session to get those shots. And nowadays, it's like I can pick this guy up and take him wherever I want and fly him up into the sky and get like 4K, pretty high quality imagery. All from this tiny little, let's get in focus there. Like with this little tiny camera that is the size of my water bottle. Like it's smaller than the water bottle I carry with me everywhere. I can get 4K high quality images off this thing that are good for commercial use, good for creative use. So the very first time I saw a drone was back in 2014, and I was directing a Legend of Zelda fan film. We wanted to have our Link on a horse riding around, and we had access to a drone. And at this point, it was like the Phantom 2 maybe, and you still had to strap a GoPro onto it at this point. It didn't come with its own camera mounted, so it didn't have the same sort of like 6-axis technology that they do now. It didn't have the same sort of internal stabilization that they have now. And because it was a GoPro, it would likely be recording sound. So you'd ingest it into your project and you'd hear this. And then you get weird things like the drone would sometimes drift in front of the camera. The propellers would be affecting the light hitting the sensor. So you'd get these weird glitchy kind of looks across the lens. It just wasn't optimized very well. And this was only 4 years ago. I was blown away. I was like, this is crazy. We're in the future now. This is a little helicopter with a 2.7K camera on it that can just go up in the air and shoot aerial images, and we're doing it for next to no money on this project. It was crazy to me. So at that point, people getting into drones were ahead of the game. They started getting in there early, and now the people that were playing with drones back in 2013, 2014, they're the guys getting the consistent drone jobs. So the problem is now the market is very saturated. So if you're new to the drone game and you want to monetize it, I think you still should take a stab at that, but just be aware that you've got a lot of competition out there. I recommend that you go out and you pick yourself up one of these first. If you've never flown a drone before, I mean, you don't need this exact one, but go out and buy something, you know, just here's my hand for scale, a tiny little dinky toy drone, and learn how to fly with this, because if you can fly one of these, you will be able to fly a DJI drone. This thing is infinitely easier to fly than this, but this will teach you the ropes on how to fly when you don't have a picture signal going to your phone. They're great to practice with because you can fly it indoors. You can fly it around your house without running the risk of damaging. Without running the risk of causing too much damage. You can bounce it off the walls, you can generally play it pretty safe, and I don't want to get too close to the camera. And they can do fun things like flips. Okay, you didn't see that. But they can crash into you and you won't hurt yourself. So definitely go out and pick up one of these little dinky drones. They're like 30 to 40 bucks on Amazon. Take that and learn how to operate it. What I would do is I would take that and I would fly it through my house. I would try to fly it under chairs. around like the pillar in my kitchen, because then you're trying to avoid obstacles without having it warn you. And if you can get around those sort of things, then you're already on your way to becoming a much better drone operator. So here's the other problem with learning how to fly a drone, is really you can't legally fly it anywhere. So this is a map on Transport Canada's website that shows you where you're not legally allowed to fly a drone. All the red stuff is just not allowed. It's nowhere. You basically have to go out to fields or in the middle of nowhere. All the most populated places, you can't fly it just willy-nilly. You got to jump through hoops. You need to do ground school in Canada. You need to get an SFOC, which stands for a Special Flight Operations Certificate. Special Flight Operations Certificate? I think so. You have a little more leeway if you're just flying for fun, but if you want to be a commercial drone operator, like to work as a drone operator and make money off of your drone footage, then you need to jump through these hoops. And it's not easy. Again, the people who've been doing it for a while are the ones who are already established. They adapted as the laws changed and managed to get these sort of licenses. There's so much stuff that has to go into flying a drone commercially that maybe you might realize it's not a good business decision for you at this time. Or at least maybe you don't want to fork out tons of money on a professional drone if you're not able to make money as a drone operator to justify that expense. So when I bought my first drone, it was a Mavic Pro, and in retrospect, may have made a mistake. I kind of was looking for an affordable drone that I could learn how to fly on and get good imagery, and I was like, it's a 4K camera, I want that. Ultimately, I wasn't very happy with it. I realized I'm not gonna make money off of it, or at least not enough to justify the $1,200 I spent on it and filters and everything. Despite pro being in the name, it's not a pro drone, and the image does not reflect a professional image that you would get out of a higher end drone. It only shoots 60 megabits per second. It's the dynamic range in the original Mavic Pro is not very good. You really could only get away with shooting with filters, and even then you'd be struggling to get the detail in the highlights and maintain the detail in the shadows without it being noisy. I kind of rushed and I bought it. So it wasn't a great business decision. I ended up selling it at a bit of a loss, but what I did was I shot stock footage with that drone for a while, because the stuff I did get that was good was decent enough to be hosted online and up for sale for stock agencies. So I can keep generating revenue off that drone for forever until the stock footage sites don't exist anymore. And that's why I upgraded to the Mavic 2 Pro, because I actually did my research and realized that for my purposes, which is creative media, YouTube content, stock footage, I could justify this expense. I'm just editing this video and I wanted to interject with something because I realized I didn't give the Mavic Pro enough credit. It's a wicked starter drone and I got some amazing looking stuff with it. I definitely recommend it if you're looking for a decent drone to produce like pretty high quality images. It just didn't live up to the expectations I had set out for it. So if you're in the market for a drone, you want something that's not super expensive, the Mavic Pro might actually be a great drone for you. I wasn't given enough credit and I felt like it deserved a little bit more love than what I was giving it in this video. Anyway, back to the rest of me. So getting back to the original question, is a drone a good business investment? And there is no yes or no answer. It really depends on what you want to do with it. It's just these are the things you need to be considering when it comes to a drone. So really, it just comes down to what's your purpose for it? Is it a business expense? If it is, how do you plan to recoup that sort of expense and make the money back off the drone over time? If you want to be a professional drone operator who offers that service, just be aware that you are likely facing an uphill battle. There's a lot of established drone operators and companies that specialize in drone videography. They're hard to compete with because they've got bigger drones, they've got the insurance, they've got the training and the licenses from Transport Canada or the FAA. It's going to be tough to break into that market, but if you want to do that, then you should just do your research and make sure that you're tackling it from the right perspective. If you're a filmmaker who just wants to have a drone to pick up your own creative footage and creative content, then it really comes down to your budget. Is this going to be a worthy investment? If you're not concerned about recouping the loss of the purchase of a drone, then you just need to figure out what drone is right for you. It doesn't make sense to buy a $2,000 plus Mavic 2 Pro or a Phantom 4 Or is it better for you to buy a Mavic Air or something smaller that you can carry in your pocket and is not gonna set up flags when you're like traveling? And if you do already own a drone, let me know in the comments, what drone are you using and how are you using it to generate business and generate revenue? Is it with stock footage? Is it with filmmaking? How are you using your drone to make money and push business towards you as a freelance filmmaker? If you feel like you learned something, hit the subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, do the bell thing, do all the things YouTubers tell you to do at the end of every video. You've heard it a million times before, and I will see you next time.